Today we're going to talk about diagnosis and replacement of a defrost thermostat on a Santa Fe Compact 2 dehumidifier. As you can see here, we have a Compact 2 dehumidifier. A couple of symptoms of a bad defrost thermostat is the unit runs, doesn't produce water, or the fan on the dehumidifier runs, but the compressor does not. Defrost thermostat gives power to the compressor, so if it's bad, the compressor doesn't come on. So to diagnose the unit, we're going to turn some of the knobs and switches down here in a certain fashion, and that'll let us know what's going on with the defrost thermostat. I guess first off, you want to make sure the unit's actually off. So we'll turn the dehumidistat or humidity dial all the way counterclockwise to the off position. We also want to make sure the fan is in the down or auto position. That'll make sure the unit is actually off. Other thing, you want to make sure the unit hasn't been run in the past 5 minutes, and then also that the air temperature where you're at in your room is above 55 degrees. That'll be a good starting point to do this diagnosis. The next step would be to make sure you got the unit plugged in. Obviously we have it plugged in here. The first step would be to turn the fan switch on, so we verify the fan runs. So just push the top there. We can actually hear the fan run. You can actually feel the air coming out of the back of the dehumidifier here. So we verify that the fan runs. The next step would be to turn the dehumidistat dial to the on position. Now we're going to be listening for the compressor to come on, so you may want to put your hand in the unit. You should hear a slight hum or feel a vibration when the compressor comes on. So we'll go ahead and do that now. So you just want to turn it kind of slowly, and not sure if you can hear that on the video, but the compressor did come on this unit. That would tell us that the defrost thermostat actually is good. But if you didn't hear the compressor come on, that would let us know that the defrost thermostat is suspected of being bad. Sometimes you can't feel or hear the compressor coming on. To verify that a little bit better, you can remove the filters here and then run the unit for about, say, 5 to 10 minutes, and this black coil here should start to get cold. It should start to get cold on the top. This unit right here is actually starting to get cold on the top right away, but that's one way to tell if the compressor's on. If you don't feel it's getting cold, it could be the defrost thermostat is actually bad. You don't necessarily need a tape measure, but it's always nice to have a tape measure to measure the probe. We have a standard number 2 Phillips head screwdriver. You can either use a drill or a torque screwdriver, but this is a T20 torque screwdriver. If you want to use a drill, obviously you'll need a T20 bit in your drill. So very minimal tools, and then obviously to replace it, you actually need the new defrost thermostat. Okay, so what we're going to do now is show you how to replace the defrost thermostat on a Compact 2 dehumidifier. To be safe, the first thing we want to do is actually unplug the unit, so we can't get hurt when we're taking the unit apart. So we'll remove that. The next step would be to remove the filters. Obviously, sometimes you have 2 filters, a pre-filter there, and then you'll have the main filter here. Sometimes you'll just have one. The next step would be to remove the screws from the cabinet. You have 6 screws on both sides, so a total of 12 screws, but you have 3 on the bottom here, and then 1, 2, 3 here to get the top cover off. For removing the screws, what you'll need is a T20 Torx bit screwdriver or drill. I'm going to use a drill just a little bit quicker, but they do make screwdrivers. It looks kind of like a Phillips head screwdriver, but it kind of has a star bit on it. So we'll just go ahead and take the screws out. There's 6 on this side. Move the unit, take the other 6 out. That's all 12. And The next step, we'll just start removing these panels so we can gain access to the inside of the unit. This little exhaust piece comes off the back. Just kind of a little tidbit here. You can put this exhaust piece on either way if you want the air blowing up or out the back. The next step would be to take the three-sided cabinet off. Easiest thing, there's a little lip underneath here, so it's best to just kind of pull it out, flex it out a little bit. It doesn't hurt the panel, just pull it right straight up and off. The next step in changing the defrost thermostat is to locate the defrost thermostat. As you can see here, the defrost thermostat is actually this little silver pipe here. It's actually not a wire, it's just a little silver pipe, and this kind of rectangular piece with the two black wires with pink connectors on them. There's two screws here to take off, but that's where you want to locate it. When you get the new defrost thermostat, it'll come coiled up like that, so we'll have to mimic how the old one's coming out. So the next step would be to remove these two black wires. They just pull off. Just like that. And then next step would be to pull we call it the probe or the tube out of the evaporator coil. Now you want to make sure you remember where you pull it out from. It'll be like a little, the fins will be a little bent so you can know where that's at. And also this measurement from the tip to the bend here is kind of critical. If you really wanted to take a measurement of it, it's about 7 3/4 inches long. We'll have to bend a new one to that dimension. And then we want to remove the defrost thermostat off of the unit. You'll need a Phillips head screwdriver, just a common screwdriver. These two screws here. There's one. Defrost thermostat. We'll catch this last screw here, and now our defrost thermostat is removed. The next process in replacing the defrost thermostat is we want to make the new defrost thermostat look identical to the old defrost thermostat. These tubes are somewhat delicate. We don't want to kink them or pull on them or anything like that, so we want to try to slowly unbend them to match the shape here. So they'll come coiled up, and we can just kind of slowly uncoil them. Just kind of like that. And you may notice that this is an older style defrost thermostat. You may have this one, you may have the new one. The tube is longer on the newer style, so it might have a little bit more of a coil here, but what we're trying to mimic is this measurement right here. You can just match it, that's easy, but it's about 7 3/4 to that bend there is what we're going to be after. So this does take a little bit of time to do. Just kind of measure it up. And get your bend there. And then we can probably just coil it back here, so it somewhat lays out about the same as what we had before. It doesn't have to be perfect or pretty, just functionality. We really don't want it kinked or rubbing is what we're after. So that looks pretty good there. Also check our measurement here, even though we made it the same. And it looks like we got about 7 3/4. Now that we have the new defrost thermostat formed, we're going to go ahead and install it. The first thing to do is actually just to go ahead and attach it to the screw holes that you had before. Just the 2 Phillips head screws. It's going to be a little tedious to get going. Once you have one started, you don't want to get it all the way tight. So we'll start the next one, and then we'll tighten them both down. Alright, so get that one tight, and we'll come back to this one. nice and snug. The next step is we'll get our probe here. We'll find our hole that it came down from before. We'll just go ahead and try to help it and guide it down, just like so. We want to, like I said, kind of guide it down. We don't want to just kind of push it in there and push it from the top. We want to kind of try to support it. The tube is somewhat flexible, so it might bend when you're putting it down. So we just want to kind of guide it down gently and make sure it gets in there. And then you can see this kind of seal on the top. You want to make sure your tube is going to kind of lay in some of that area. As long as you're in between that little patch there, you should be fine. And we can connect these two black wires with pink connectors. You can't mess this up. You can put one on the top, one on the bottom. It doesn't matter, just as long as they're connected. So push them on nice and firm. And then we got our tube all the way down. We got the tube going across this little foam patch here, and it's nice and neatly tucked up over here. It's not rubbing on any of these copper tubes or anything else, so that's going to be moving. And that's what we're after. So that's a installed defrost thermostat. Next we'll put the unit back together. Okay, the next step again is to be putting on the three-sided cover over here. Again, they have a little lip on the bottom, so when you put this on, you want to kind of flex it out ever so slightly and just bring it down on. And then what you're after is there's two little galvanized brackets here in the front. You want to make sure those are in front of the black coil. And then you kind of want to position it, make sure your little angles on the bottom of it are underneath the unit. And just kind of position, look at your screw holes, and make sure they're lined up. And then we'll go ahead and put 3 screws in either side, so a total of 6 screws. Sometimes it's nice to just get these started. Make sure you get all the screws in at least on one side, and then go back and snug them down. Don't want to over torque these. They're small screws because they can strip. And then we have 3 on the other side. Again, we'll just kind of slowly start these. Get our holes lined up. We'll go ahead and tighten everything down. All right, the next step is to put, I got a 2-sided exhaust piece to put on the back here. This piece can go either way. Generally, when it's shipped to you, the exhaust is coming out of the back here, but you can flip it around if you do want the exhaust to come out of the top. That's up to you. Generally, it's just, we'll put it back to the factory location here. And you just want to kind of fit it here. Make sure you have it. The tabs on the side of this thing will actually be on the outside. Make sure your screw holes are lined up. And then we'll start the screws. And again, you want to make sure you just lightly get them started, and then we'll go back and tighten them down later. All right. Do the other side here. And we'll start them. We'll snug them down. And again, small screws, so just a good snug, firm tightness. Don't want to over tighten them, they can strip. And then if you have that on, that's install the exhaust piece panel. That's done. And then after that, we can reinstall your filters. Just to be sure, we'll have the pre-filter and the regular filter here. The filter may look a little different, but we want to make sure that we put it in correctly. On the side here, they actually have an arrow for your airflow. Generally, where you have the metal mesh, that'll go towards the unit. So install that filter like that. And then we have the pre-filter, the washable filter or whatnot. Again, that metal mesh will go on the back. Airflow goes this way, supports the mesh, supports the soft filter material. Okay, now that you have the dehumidifier back together, the defrost thermostat replaced, we want to go ahead and verify that the unit actually runs and we actually did fix the problem. The first thing, again, just like in part of the diagnosis, can be very similar. Want to make sure the unit's in the off position, make sure the fan is in the auto position, make sure the unit hasn't run in the past 5 minutes, and also make sure your temperature is above 55 degrees wherever you're at. Once we notify that, we're going to go ahead and plug the unit in. Go here. Make sure you have power. You might want to plug a hair dryer or a light or something like that in to make sure you have power. It should be pretty easy. Next thing we do, just like the diagnosis, we'll turn on the fan switch. Make sure we have airflow. We hear the fan. We got air coming out of the back. And then we'll again slowly turn the humidity control clockwise, and we should hear the compressor come on. So we actually heard the compressor come on. We felt a slight hum or vibration when it did come on. That would verify the compressor is working. So if it didn't do that before and now the compressor did come on, that would tell us the defrost thermostat did actually fix your problem. If you want a little bit better indication that the unit's running good, if you run it for a good 5-10 minutes or so, you can remove your filters here again and feel this coil to make sure it's starting to get cold. It should feel cold to the touch after about 5-10 minutes, and that'll let us know that the unit is working correctly. For an even further test, you could actually wait a good half an hour, hour or so, or whatever, depending on your conditions. You probably should start seeing some water come out of the drain tube, and hopefully that'll take care of your problem.